Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of News for Normies of 2025. Sorry that I've been gone so long. I'll get into that here in a second. If you have some normies in your life that need to hear some news and they're tired of, being lied to by Fox News, CNN, and the like, share this video with them. Hit the like button and let me know your comments down below at the end of the video. So, gonna take care of some housekeeping real quick. I apologize for being gone so long. The wife and I went out of town immediately after Christmas to see extended family. While we were out of town, we both were sick and took about a week to recover from that. I don't know if we got that flu thing that was going around, but yeah, so I was on antibiotics, she was on antibiotics, I sounded very nasally, just needed some time to recover from that. Also, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about at that time, except for a couple little things I'll get to at the end of the video here. So my apologies for being gone for that long. Also, got a new webcam, so I hope that the video looks a little more clear now, and I apologize if it seems way too zoomed up on my face. This is like the standard setting for this webcam. I'm still kind of getting used to it, working out some kinks. So bear with me as we go forward from here. So with that being said, now we're going to get into the news. So this past week, I think it was Monday actually, I think it's kind of a shock to everybody, Justin Trudeau, who's going to be the former Prime Minister of Canada, declared that he will be resigning as Prime Minister come the next election in Canada. And he says that he's facing pressure both from his own political party in the country and from Donald Trump. There's some speculation that the Liberal Party in Canada wants Justin Trudeau out so that way they can find a more popular candidate for their party. But I think they're going to have a hard time with that because people are largely rejecting the liberal policies that have been put in place in Canada for quite a while now. We've kind of seen that all over the world, really, between Donald Trump being reelected back in November, Justin Trudeau basically being bullied out of office, several countries in Europe electing more right-leaning politicians to be their heads of state. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of done with the liberal policies that are constantly putting other people first and not their own country. You know, it's kind of like when you're on an airplane and they always tell you if something happens and the oxygen masks drop, put your own mask on first before aiding the people next to you. Why? Because if you go unconscious, you're not going to be able to help your child or elderly relative or whoever else. And the same thing is kind of being done with like the Western world. People are tired of bringing in millions upon millions of people who do not want to assimilate with their culture and then end up turning the country that they love into a shithole. So, you got what you got, man. Yeah, so good news for Canada. Trudeau's going to be gone soon. He is not officially out of office yet, but, the time is ticking for him to leave office at this point. So on the same day, January 6th, Monday, January 6th, 2025, Donald Trump was officially certified by Congress as president-elect and is slated to be inaugurated on January 20th. So good news there. There wasn't really a whole lot of protests that went on to my knowledge. There's probably a couple of angry fat feminists that had signs out there, but it also might have been too cold, so nobody wanted to be out there. Who knows? I'm just glad that things went off smoothly and peacefully. But also noteworthy, history was made that day because this also marks the first time in American history that a black/Asian or whatever ethnicity she decides on that day, woman, certified her own loss in the presidential election. So congrats to Kamala Harris for setting the record here. Good on her. Kind of being funny there a little bit, but on the bright side, at least it was a real woman that certified the loss and not a dude trying to be a chick. So I guess that's a little bit of a bright side, I guess. I don't know. Moving on, more news about Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was sentenced to an unconditional discharge yesterday, as I record this, January 10th, in the New York hush money / fraud case, which was, I mean, as we all know, was a bunch of bullshit to begin with. Which means that he will be given no jail time, essentially. You know, not even a slap on the wrist because he doesn't even have to like do community service or anything like that. So, while the whole case was complete and utter horse crap to begin with, I think this is the best outcome for the whole situation because, you know, he's going to be inaugurated as president in less than 2 weeks, so that would really cause some issues and set a real bad precedent going forward. However, the Democrats will still scream convicted felon for the next 4 years. Even though when you get into conversations with them, they will still admit that the justice system in America is severely broken. So it's quite convenient how they will scream convicted felon 1 minute and then talk about how the justice system is broken in another minute. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so Donald Trump has said that he is going to appeal the case going forward. However, it is unclear to me how this will all play out once he's inaugurated and back in the White House. Don't know. That's a state case, not a federal case, so I'm not exactly sure what he can do once he's president in appealing the case. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I cut metal for a living and do this as a part-time hobby. So Donald Trump is still floating the idea of somehow like buying or acquiring Greenland from Denmark. And from my understanding, this would be a pretty good move if we did it, because Greenland has a decent amount of oil supply. Plus, I was hearing on Timcast IRL the other day how they like really tapped into geothermal energy for their needs up there. So like, if we could use that elsewhere in the United States, that would be good. I don't know how that would work in like Florida or Texas, but I don't know, just an idea, I guess. But more importantly, just where the country is located, like on the global map, would give the United States military a sort of like launching point for any if a large scale conflict were to break out in Europe again. So if a World War III happened in Europe, it'd be kind of like a little skipping point for the U.S. military to be able to send aircraft over to Europe, as opposed to putting them all on a big boat and floating it across the ocean. But they're going to do their thing, I suppose. Why do I bring that up, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. I seriously doubt that Russia at this point is going to try to like reinvade the EU or anything like that. Like try to put the Soviet Union back together. But things can change in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now. So kind of hedging our bets here for potential future problems. I should say. Also, I just kind of want to see the American flag planted on some new soil at this point. It's been a while since we've like acquired new land, so what's a little bit more. Plus, I want to kind of just circle in Canada a little bit more. I'm sure that the people of Canada, like the average citizen, is great, but the Canadian government is about as bad as the Chinese Communist Party in China. So, yeah. I don't like the Canadian government. Sue me. I don't know. No, don't. Please don't. I don't have that money. Okay, moving on. So, this is something that should infuriate everybody, especially if you are a parent of small children. A bill got shot down in D.C. that would have been a federal bill for all across the country. that would deport illegal aliens who've committed sexual crimes. Let me say that again. A bill was voted down that would deport illegal aliens who have committed sexual crimes here in the United States. Why? Why is that even... How could you even vote against something like that? Funny enough, 158 Democrats voted no for this, so that's very telling where their priorities lie, with one notable no vote coming from Justin Trudeau, who is a politician from Colorado, who is also a former Army Ranger and father of 2 daughters. Yes, an Army Ranger, father of 2 daughters, voted against a bill that would deport illegal aliens who have committed sexual crimes in this country. So remember, folks, just because someone served in the military, even at higher levels of the military, like the, Army Rangers, they could still be a piece of shit. Like this guy. Absolute piece of shit. I don't care at this point what his military career has been. You vote against deporting sexual criminals, you are a piece of shit. So, if anybody in Colorado is watching this, I would love it if you contacted Justin Trudeau and let him know how disgusted you are with him. Obviously, no calls to violence. Just let him know that he's a piece of shit. Speaking of, former President Jimmy Carter passed away just before the new year. He passed away just before New Year's Day of 25. I think it was December 30th. I could have looked this up. I should have looked this up. But anyway, he passed away just before the new year. And since he passed away, I think it's safe to say that he will now be regarded as the second worst president of the United States behind Joe Biden. Ask any of your older relatives about like the oil crisis and fuel, like gas prices increasing and stuff like that while he was president. They'll tell you how things were back then. Also, I didn't know this until recently, so shout out to the Drinkin' Bros podcast for talking about this a little bit. Once Jimmy Carter left office and the first Persian Gulf War broke out, Jimmy Carter wrote letters to several of America's allies and Arab states in the region, urging them to not cooperate with the United States military actions during that time. So, the dude was president of the United States. The dude was commander-in-chief of the United States military at one point. Then leaves office and goes behind America's back to tell people to not work with us. How this doesn't go against the Logan Act is beyond me. How he didn't face any kind of criminal charges for that is mind-blowing. If you're wondering what the Logan Act was, quick rundown. The Logan Act was a bill that was passed in 1799. It was named after a dude whose last name was Logan because he was going behind America's back and negotiating with people that were kind of adversarial to us at the time. And the act states that anybody can be criminalized for the negotiation of a dispute between the United States and a foreign government by an unauthorized American citizen, per Wikipedia. That is the quote that I read from Wikipedia as of today. I mean, on its face, it sounds like it is a direct violation of the Logan Act. But, oh well, that's in the past, and Jimmy Carter is, he's passed away now too, so obviously ain't nothing gonna happen about that one. But I just figured I'd bring that one up too, because, it kind of relates to the story right before this. Jimmy Carter did serve in the U.S. military at one point too. He was the commander-in-chief of the military, and then goes and does something like this. So again, talk about a piece of shit. This is just a shit-filled episode today. Mark Zuckerberg this week announced that all Meta platforms will do away with fact checkers and will turn to a community notes system that is similar to X or Twitter, if you prefer. While this is great news for free speech on the internet, make no mistake about Zuckerberg, okay? He's a fair weather friend. Let's not forget that he bent the knee when the FBI demanded Facebook censor the Hunter Biden laptop story, all the COVID misinformation, and more. In fact, last time Zuck was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he even talked about how the FBI pressured them on the Hunter Biden laptop story. And he was recently on Joe Rogan's podcast again this week and talked about how people from the Biden administration would call the Facebook team and would scream at them and berate them for not doing what they wanted. So, again, while it's great that, Mark Zuckerberg has somehow seen the light or something, he's bent the knee before. So, we'll see how things go in the future, especially kind of coming up toward like 2028, I guess it would be now. Or even in the midterms that come up in the next 18 months or so. And this just goes to show that people on the political right were correct about this. When you start giving power like that to the government to monitor what is misinformation, it'll just be anything that they don't agree with is misinformation. And it's funny, Mark Zuckerberg even mentioned on this last episode of Joe Rogan how it's like something out of 1984. It's like, yeah, dude, you guys were the one doing it. So, again, make no mistake, they've done it before. I would take all this stuff with a grain of salt. But also at the same time, meme the hell out of him too. Pardon me. High quality H2O. Alrighty. So, sad news. I'm sure everybody at this point has heard about it. There have been wildfires that have picked up in California again. And at this point, that I know of, at least 5 people have lost their lives, as well as an untold amount of property that has been destroyed. To my knowledge, less than 10% of the fires at this point have been contained, and they're having a hard time fighting these fires. This is solely due to the failed and corrupt government of the state of California, mismanaging resources in the state, as well as prioritizing and pushing a bunch of DEI bullshit for hiring firefighters. Like, why? I get if you want to have people working at McDonald's or in a tech office or something like that. You want a diverse team. Okay, cool, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't care what somebody's skin color is or who they want to sleep with, as long as it's an adult, a consenting adult. But when it comes to, like, jobs where people's lives are literally on the line, that absolutely needs to be merit-based. So when you want to have, more women and gays on the firefighting team instead of, straight white dudes, you're going to have what's going on now. It's also funny how people are claiming that climate change is to blame for these wildfires, even though California has the most stringent climate change policies in America. Maybe instead of trying to push climate change, you don't allow homeless people to go around starting fires. Maybe that's a good idea, which has been happening, by the way. I don't know if that is the cause of the fires that picked up, but there have been several videos that have gone viral recently on X and stuff where citizens are detaining homeless people who are going around lighting shit on fire. Like, wow, okay. Again, Democrat Party, this is your fault. Even worse, I think, is when the dust settles from this, it's going to be hard to find the money to rebuild because several insurance companies dropped many people for like fire damage in the weeks and months leading up to this. So insurance companies are just like, we're out, you know, which is kind of weird because, you know, the timing of that is a little uncanny, don't you think? You know, the insurance companies pull out, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's a massive wildfire, and they're like, we're not going to pay to rebuild that shit. So, you know, y'all are on your own. Bye. Yeah. By the way, if you work for an insurance company, you're a legal thief, and you should feel bad about yourself. Just saying, because this kind of stuff happens way too often. Yeah, if you work for an insurance company, you should feel ashamed of yourself. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I know not to go into details, but I had to fight with my homeowner's insurance here in Ohio to get my roof replaced because of storm damage. And then conveniently after I filed a claim, they dropped me. Yeah, well, they still ended up paying for it. Okay, back to the news. Since the wildfires have broke out this time, Donald Trump has called for the resignation of failed California Governor Gavin Newsom, and that is what he is. He's scum, because the state has just mismanaged their resources. You know, instead of keeping the fire hydrants full of water to fight wildfires, they're going to divert water into the ocean because a little tiny fish can't survive. Maybe the fish should evolve or die. Don't you all believe in evolution? You know, reject Christianity and you know, think that evolution is the way? Doesn't that fall in line with your beliefs that if a creature can't evolve to thrive, it's the natural course is that it dies off? I don't know. I think we should just let it die. Biden also said that the federal government will cover the cost of damages when this is all said and done. And while I'm glad that the federal government is now actually taking care of Americans, it's awfully convenient how, you know, he said that they're going to take care of all the stuff for deep blue California, but people in Appalachia and, you know, North Carolina and stuff, their homes got literally swept away by a hurricane, and they're like, best we can do $700. So, yeah, make no mistake, the Democrat Party is a death party. That's what they do not care about you, and they just want power. They're communists. They're just flat out communists. But I'm beating a dead horse in Elmer's glue at this point. Okay, so this is a little bit of old news, but I kind of wanted to wait to talk about these two things because they were both kind of weird, and I wanted some more information to come out before I started talking. So, on New Year's Eve, which I get is, you know, quite a bit behind us now, but a man drove a pickup truck into partygoers on Bourbon Street in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and turned out this guy was a Muslim terrorist. He was also armed with a rifle, and in the pickup truck had an ISIS flag. So I don't know what else to call it other than a radical Muslim terror attack. He was fatally shot by police once he exited the vehicle and tried to brandish the firearm. But weirder still is that this guy served in the United States Army for 8 years. So, like, that's interesting. He was married 3 times and apparently had substantial debt. So, in my opinion, this guy was probably depressed, stressed out, looking for purpose, and sadly ended up subscribing to a death cult. So, I mean, that's that. Yeah, it's weird. So, if y'all are out and about in big public gatherings, be armed if you can. Not that a gun is going to fight against a vehicle, but, you know, guy comes out of a vehicle with a gun, then, you know, you have a fighting chance at least. Keep your head on a swivel, because this year, I got a feeling this year is going to be interesting to say the least. The final story here, ironically on the same day as this, a man by the name of Matthew Livelsberger, or Matt Berg for short, Um, he rented a Tesla Cybertruck, allegedly drove it and parked in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, allegedly shot himself in the head with a Desert Eagle, which is a very, very large caliber handgun, by the way. And after he allegedly shot himself, the truck exploded as it was filled with gasoline and fireworks. Now, luckily, nobody else was hurt or killed because of this. However, I said allegedly a lot because, well, let me get the tinfoil top hat again. Alrighty, there we go. So there was security video footage of this, and it is very clear that the truck just went boom and fireworks went everywhere. But it's weird that the security camera footage didn't capture a muzzle flash within the vehicle before the big explosion went off. So again, the story that's been put out there is that he rented his Cybertruck, drove it himself, parked in front of the Trump Tower or the Trump Hotel, allegedly shot himself, and then the whole truck went up. But there was no muzzle flash that was seen. So, a little weird. Why did this happen? Well, I think it's hot real quick. So Mr. Livelsberger sent an email to the Sean Ryan show saying that he had information about some kind of big conspiracy between the United States and China, which was also kind of linked to the drones that people were seeing in New Jersey, and that these drones were actually powered by some kind of like gravitational force or something, like some kind of anti-gravity kind of mechanism or something like that. And he also had information about alleged war crimes in Afghanistan in 2019. This email was supposedly verified as legitimate by the FBI, but let's take their, those scumbags with a grain of salt too. Maybe the guy was telling the truth, but that information won't get out here now because he's gone as well. Again, shout out to Drinking Bros podcast. This guy served in the military, and might have been part of some stuff that was like not okay, and had a hard time coming to grips with what he might have done. I don't know. I'm purely speculating here. And so, since he had like moral injury and no good way to like work it out or something, he may have just said, I can't live with myself anymore. But again, it's weird how no muzzle flash was seen in the security camera footage. So we'll see what happens from there. I do believe also Elon Musk said that they were going to send like Tesla technicians to try to retrieve any kind of video from that Cybertruck. So it'll be interesting to see if that information comes out sometime soon. Yeah, so I think I've covered everything from like New Year's Eve to now. If I missed something that you think I should have talked about, let me know down in the comments below. Like I said, share this with some normies in your life, and y'all just keep being good. So I will see y'all next time. Take care.